If you're considering whether to buy a cheaper monitor like the Feelworld F5, then make sure to hear me out on why I'm selling mine. Now, as a video shooter, it's really helpful to have a monitor when it comes to checking your focus and composing a shot. And as a quick disclaimer, I have zero problem with the image coming out of the Feelworld F5. The colors look good, the resolution is great at 1080p, but there were a couple problems I ran into as I was using it more with my GH5. One of the first issues I ran into with this monitor was the rotating arm. Typically, most monitors have an arm that goes along the side and then attaches to the monitor. This thumb screw right here is responsible for adjusting the tension that the monitor rotates in. The more expensive monitor, you would typically have this thumb screw on the end of your monitor, keeping the tension on the monitor to the arm. So basically what you'd be able to do is rotate the monitor freely, and then there would be a slight bit of resistance as you're turning, making it easy to make adjustments. Like if you're shooting up higher, you'd be able to just tilt it down and it would stay where it's at. And then if you wanted to tilt it straight on, it would be able to stay where it's at as well. But this monitor, it does not do that. The Feelworld F5 ends up unscrewing itself as you're turning it. So even if you have this monitor tightened up and you decide to tilt it up a little bit, it immediately becomes completely loose, and that is a big problem. Also, there are so many birds out right now, I'm sure it's screwing up this video, but I don't really care. I want to shoot more videos outside. So that's an issue for me for this monitor because I do a lot of tilting up and down to check my shot. And the second I tilt it to the left, or up in this case, it ends up completely loosening itself. So really, to create a cheap fix for this problem, you have to make sure it's tight and then unscrew it with the thumb screw, position it in the place that you want it to be, and then re-tighten it. So it's just a real pain. But if you're the kind of person who doesn't tilt your monitor very much and you kind of set it and forget it, that won't be an issue. My other issue with this monitor, which I think is actually a lot more important than just the build quality overall, like I mentioned, was the 4K lag. I don't know if this is user error or not, but I cannot get this monitor to sync up with my movement on the GH5. There's a noticeable difference between your actual movement and the monitor's readout, especially in 4K 60. If I have the monitor on top of my camera and I'm trying to do a handheld moving shot, it creates this weird feedback loop in my head where I can't frame and move the shot as I'm doing it because there's a slight delay. So it's a lot similar to if you have headphones on and the audio is slightly delayed and you're trying to talk, and it just makes it really hard to talk clearly. In the same way, if you're trying to do a moving shot with a slight lag in the monitor, it's hard to keep those shots really fluid because you can't make any of those micro adjustments in real time. So in those situations, I always end up opting for the GH5 screen. But really, if you don't do a lot of moving shots with a monitor on top of your camera and you can handle the monitor staying fixed in one place and not tilting it at all, everything else about it is really nice. It has a lot of great features. I also wanted to add that in 1080p there isn't a lag, so if you're just shooting on a 1080p camera, the ladder issue would not be a problem. So if you're on like a GH4 and you're shooting 1080-60 or GH3 1080-60, then that wouldn't be a problem and this monitor would be great. But just that arm and the lag are just deal breakers for me. So it really depends on what you're shooting, obviously. But for me, my GH5, I'm definitely going to be investing in a more expensive monitor in the future.